why I dropped out of graduate school, even though I had a 4.0 GPA. Now you might be wondering why. Let me just tell you, before we get into that, let me just start this off by telling you that my breaking point, the point that I decided, okay, I'm done with this. This is garbage, is when I took a class that was supposed to be for cybersecurity, and we were studying ants. Let me just let that sink in for a minute. We were studying the behavior of ants. And we were using software that simulated ants, and ants were just like running around the screen, and we were studying their behavior and how it applied to security. I think that was definitely the point. I'm like, why the hell am I here? Why am I here? I learned nothing about actual stuff I would use on the job, but we'll get to that. Just bear with me. There's many people that would love to have a graduate degree, and let me just start by saying there are a lot of benefits to it. It can help you depending on what you want to do. Is it necessary? Is it essential? No, and we'll get to that in a second as to why that is. For me personally, the realization that I made was that this was so far from what I needed to get to where I needed to be, that even though I had a 4.0, I was going to quit pursuing it. Because first of all, what you need to understand is that our time is limited, right? I mean, just think right now, how many topics in cybersecurity you would like to learn and like to get to, but you just haven't had the time yet, right? You know, there's probably so many things. If you're anything at all like me, there's probably so much you want to learn. You're like, okay, I want to dive into like API pen testing. I want to dive into some cloud pen testing and some red teaming and like C2 frameworks and like all this stuff, right? And chances are there's a lot of things that are on your backlog. And the reason they're on your backlog is our time is very limited. We don't have that much time, as much as we would think that we do. So obviously, grad school is something that takes a lot of time, and I had a 4.0. I didn't find it particularly difficult, particularly challenging, for one thing. But it definitely was limiting me even more in what I could do with other stuff. And I wanted to pursue OSCP at the time. This was years ago. This was before I even started on that. But I wanted to pursue, some technical stuff, more technical stuff as well. And perhaps the greatest benefit for me at the time was the fact that I was working in the field. So I could see the people that had these graduate degrees and the people that didn't, and I could really, I could get some insider advice on stuff as well. And that's what I hope to be able to provide to you guys, by the way, with this channel, because I am someone that works in this field and has worked in this field for quite some time. So I want to be able to transfer that insider knowledge to you guys that aren't in that situation yet, so that you can have all of the variables when you weigh out your decision. Because this is a big decision, right? If you're pursuing grad school right now to, drop out of it, or if you're considering it but you haven't yet, to really have all the information available to you. So one thing that I really started to realize being in this field is that the people that had all these, advanced degrees and things like that were usually the people that were the least technical, being the manager or being a director, or, these are not necessarily bad things either, by the way. It depends on what do you want, right? So you could make a lot of money, obviously, as a cybersecurity director. I mean, I think that goes without saying, right? Or a CISO and stuff like that. If you want to be that, then getting a degree is something that is a good decision for sure. And it's something you want to spend your time on. But where I was at, I wanted to, I was just getting started in the field. I wanted to be on the technical side for a long time. And even, that was 6 years ago. And still to this day, I do not regret the decision, because I want to stay on the technical side pretty much indefinitely, as long as I still enjoy it, as long as I still love doing this stuff. And I absolutely do right now. So I want to focus more on the technical skill set. And that was a huge driving factor, because one thing that I realized as well is I had coworkers that had their graduate degrees, and they were pen testers, by the way. These were not people that were, I mean, I did know managers that had theirs as well, but just speaking for a second on other pen testers that I worked with that had their graduate degrees, to be honest with you, and I chuckle to even say this because it seems crazy, right? Because it's so counterintuitive to a lot of people, myself included. But the people that had those graduate degrees were the least skilled people on the team. And this is no slight at, at them personally, but it makes sense, right? They focus more on the theoretical side. They focus more on the getting the piece of paper than honing their skill set. So that's where they're putting their time. And if they had infinite time, they'd probably do both. But the reality of the matter is they put more time and effort into getting that degree, and their skill at the actual technical side was a lot lower. And it can help you get your foot in the door, just like a certification or something like that. The purpose of any degree, whether it's a graduate degree or an undergraduate degree, is to help get your foot in the door. However, if you get a certification that is hands-on, that is technical, maybe an eLearn cert or a OffSec cert, something like that, right? Then not only can it help get your foot in the door, but it can also help train you to get that skill set, the actual hard technical skill that you would use on the job. So that is why I'm a much bigger proponent of certifications and things like that over a degree. But what I really came to realize is I had zero interest in being a manager or director or any of that. And if I really, really wanted to, I could always go back and get it. But I personally, just to let you guys know, I don't see myself ever doing that. I love the technical side so much that I created this YouTube channel to share my knowledge with you guys and teach you guys what I know. And I created Elevate Cyber as well. And I think between those three things and my 9-to-5 job, right, I think that I shouldn't need to have to be a manager at any point if I don't want to. And that is the reason that I decided to drop out of grad school. It wasn't for me. And if you are really into the technical side, if you're watching this channel and you're leveling up, you're growing, and you're trying to get as skilled as possible as a red teamer and emulate a real attacker, then I would absolutely recommend that drop out of grad school right now, or just don't pursue it if you are thinking about it, right? Instead, put your time and effort into the technical stuff. And if you're not ready for a job already, you will be very soon, a lot sooner than if you go for a graduate school degree. And along the journey in doing that, check out the description below for my top 10 pen testing interview questions that you need to know to ace the interview when it comes time to. Maybe you're already in the field, you want to look for a higher paying job. It could certainly help there for you as well. A lot of people would think that, oh, they have their graduate degree in cybersecurity, they must be such an elite hacker. But the reality is, I'll tell you, as someone that was on the inside, here was a major factor as well for me. When I was taking those classes in graduate school, similar to undergraduate in my cybersecurity degree, I learned absolutely zero of what I use today. Let me take a step back. We technically did do cross-site request forgery one time. We did one cross-site request forgery attack in the 5 or 6 classes that I took. That was it. Nothing else that we ever did was anything I ever used in the field. So I don't want to ramble on too long about this. I think that pretty much covers it. And if you want some technical content, I have that on the screen for you right now.